Good morning. And I've been away a little while E3's been on. I intended to do quite a lot of coverage for E3, but unfortunately events got on top of me and I've been backwards and forwards to the hospital a bit. Nothing serious, but I just had to sort out some things. And it's also been my little boy's birthday, so I got kind of caught up in all that as well. And frankly, at the end of the day, I love E3 and I love games, but my little boy's birthday's more important, as is my health. So unfortunately, I didn't get to do all the stuff I wanted to do, but I'm here now, and I thought what I'd do is a little overview of what I think happened at E3 and what was good and what was bad, and whether I think it actually was any good or not, and whether individual companies produced the goods, basically. And what I thought I'd do is I'll break it down into high points and low points, and I'll go through the different companies. And first off, we had EA, obviously. And, well, I thought EA weren't much different than they usually are, to be honest. I think EA are often quite dull, and I don't think this year was any different. We got Star Wars Battlefront 2, which I thought was a high point, a definite high point. I think Star Wars Battlefront 2 looks like it's going to offer everything that Star Wars Battlefront didn't, really. I think they've refined it. I think they have probably actually listened to what people have said. And we're getting a campaign. And the gameplay looked phenomenal, I have to say. I was sitting there and I was quite wrapped with it. And I think my little boy was quite happy about it as well, because he loves that game. Don't tell anyone, he shouldn't really be playing it. The other highlight for me from EA was A Way Out, which I thought looked pretty good. The sort of Prison Break co-op game that they produced. And yeah, that was pretty good. And I'm not sure whether I'll get much chance to play that, because I don't generally have anyone to play couch co-op with me, apart from my boy, and I don't think he's going to be playing that one. And so I might get it and try and play it with someone online. If there's anyone about who wants to play it with me, then we can give it a go. I warn you, I'm not that good. But that did look an interesting game, and I do like games like that kind of push the envelope a bit and try and do something a bit new. So that was a bit of a highlight. And the other big highlight, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit when I get into Microsoft as well, was Anthem. And that looks stunning, and I can't wait for that one. But as I say, talking about Microsoft and Xbox, what do I think of them? Well, their high points, they made an effort. They really did make an effort. And I've spoken to some people, and some people think that they made too much of an effort, and they seem to be trying a little bit too hard. I'm not sure about that. I think they kind of had to. I don't think they've got a lot to offer in terms of software, in terms of AAA, although I'm not as hard on them as some people might be. But in terms of positives, well, obviously Scorpio, or Xbox One X as it is now, and they gave us a little bit about that, and they went straight into showing us Forza 7. In 4K at 60 frames per second, and it looked absolutely stunning. Now, I know a lot of people are down on Forza, and I frankly don't understand that. Forza's always been a big seller for Microsoft, and when people talk about AAAs, you don't get much more AAA than that. And when you're showing it in 4K at 60 frames per second, it blows your socks off, frankly. Don't know quite what they were doing with the car on stage, although, to be honest, I actually think that's a nice little touch when you're doing a game about motorsport and you bring on a real car. They did it last year, didn't they, with Ford? I've got no problem with that. I know a lot of people do, but I really don't see the problem. You're doing a premium game about motorsport and you bring on a premium car. Okay, you might not like it, but I did. Then the other big thing for me was Xbox original backwards compatibility coming to the Xbox One, and they said about Crimson Skies, which is one of my favourite games. And I was made up about that, but I do think it says something about the whole conference that the biggest thing in it was backwards compatibility for original Xbox games. And I don't know, Forza aside, I do think that was the high point, really. So, I'll get to the low points in a minute, but yeah, that was a big deal for me. Minecraft and Rocket League crossplay, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit later as well, some more, which is coming to the Switch as well. So we're going to see Rocket League and Minecraft on the Switch, on the PC, on tablets, and you're going to get crossplay and all your save games going across platforms as well, from what I understand. Unfortunately, you're not going to get it on PlayStation because it seems that, well, Well, PlayStation well, I don't know what they're doing, but we'll get into that later. And then you had, I think, the super duper graphic pack for 4K Minecraft, which didn't really interest me that much, but my little boy is very, very happy about that. So, that was a high point. And as Phil Spencer has said, Minecraft is probably the biggest game that anyone showed anywhere at E3. And we have to remember that Minecraft is huge, and it is Microsoft and Xbox. The other one, and I was surprised about this one, and this was a surprise. We didn't get a lot of the surprises I was hoping for, but this was a surprise that I wasn't hoping for, but I'm glad we got it. And that's PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, and that's coming to the Xbox One. And I was pretty pleased to hear about that. I haven't dipped my toe in with it on PC yet, and I would like to. So, I at the moment, I'm in an R as to whether I go into the PC version or whether I get the Xbox version. But I may well dip into the Xbox version. The other one, Super Lucky's Tale, and I'm not even sure I'll buy this one personally, but I did think it was a bit of a high point, and the reason I think it's a bit of a high point is because it's a different type of game than the usual games we get from Xbox. And so they're broadening their portfolio, which people keep asking for. So, they've done that. They've brought a new type of game, and it looks like it's going to be fun, and it's a kid's kind of game, the sort of thing you would normally get from, I don't know, Nintendo. So, yeah, I was pleased to see that. And like I say, it's not my thing, but I do think that's a good thing. And not many people picked up on that. Why are people not talking about the fact that Microsoft are broadening their portfolio with this one? And then Ashen and Oreo? Ashen and Ori, they both look stunning. I'm really looking forward to Ashen. And I've not played the original Ori and the Blind Forest, and I intend to play that before this one appears. I could not believe how good that game looked. And, okay, they're smaller type of games, but I don't know. I think Ori is a pretty spectacular game. I think in terms of art, if you're talking about games as art, it's just beautiful looking, and this one, the new one, looks even more beautiful. And that's going to be in 4K, so it's going to look awesome on the Xbox One X. And then I mentioned this earlier for EA, Anthem. And Anthem, well, they ended the show with Anthem, and that looked terrific, as did Metro. And that was pre-rendered, I think, Metro. But listening to what Digital Foundry said, it does look like the game may well look as good as that when it drops. And if it does, wow. And also Shadow of War, that looked pretty good as well. And these are cross-platform games, but they're going to look best on X1X, assuming the developers work up to the capability of the console. So they were kind of high points to me. I actually don't think the Xbox conference was particularly great, and I'll get to that in a minute, but I was expecting Sony to basically do better than Microsoft after seeing this, but we'll get to that in a minute. Bethesda came after Microsoft, and there wasn't an awful lot from Bethesda that I thought was stunning. The high point for me, though, and this was a real high point for me because I love these games, was Wolfenstein. Wolfenstein, the New Colossus. I honestly, I cannot wait for this game, and I want the special edition with Terror Billy, the toy of Blazkowicz. I can't wait to get that. I really want the special edition of this. I don't usually buy special editions. I buy one here and one there, but I really want this game, and I really want the special edition. That's a brilliant piece of marketing in my book, and that just made me laugh. And as I say, that was a high point for Bethesda, and there weren't a great deal from Bethesda, I have to say. And Ubisoft. Well, what were the high points from Ubisoft? A lot of people were saying that Ubisoft gave us the best conference. And, that's debatable. I thought Mario plus Rabbids was definitely a plus for the Switch, as was Starlink Battle for Atlas. And it's good to see Ubisoft supporting the Switch. I've said this before, I don't think we're going to get a lot of third-party support for the Switch, but that was definitely a plus. Far Cry 5 also looked phenomenal. Whether it's going to look as good as that, we know all about Ubisoft and their downgrades. But I think this might drop and it might look like we're seeing it now. I think eventually when it comes out, the gameplay is going to be as good as that. If it's not, Ubisoft are going to get absolutely crucified. I like the Far Cry games. My favourite Far Cry game, and a lot of people aren't going to agree with me on this, but my favourite Far Cry game was the first one. It was a blast. And I'm talking about the first one on PC. The console editions of the game were not as good. The PC edition was phenomenal fun, and I really enjoyed playing that game. And the ones since have gone, they've changed quite a lot, and they're very, very different to that original game. But this one looked different to those games and different to the original game, and it did look like something that I would want to play. And I like the theme of it, I like the background of it, I like it set in America. I thought it looked phenomenal. And obviously a lot of people thought that the biggest high point was the announcement of Beyond Good and Evil. And the fans go wild. And I was texted by a friend of mine who absolutely adores the first game and was getting very excited about that. He got very excited a few times, actually, because he got very excited with Nintendo as well. But we'll get to that in a minute. Sony, what can I say about Sony? The high points, obviously, were Uncharted The Lost Legacy for me, because I love the Uncharted. Well, I certainly love the most recent Uncharted games. I'm still ploughing my way through the others because I didn't have a PlayStation 3. Don't kill me, but I didn't. Days Gone. I liked Days Gone from last year, and I have to say, I think Days Gone this year looked even better. Seeing some of the gameplay. It still has that kind of Last of Us vibe to some extent, but it's broadened out a bit, and I think it is looking more like its own game now. And the footage from that looked really good, and that's the game from Sony that I'm looking forward to the most at the moment. We got a lot of PSVR support, which, it's good that Sony seemed to be supporting PSVR, so that was kind of a highlight for me. And then they ended with Spider-Man, and that looked good. I've not really played a lot of Spider-Man games, and usually I find them when I've seen them, and I've seen them around friends' houses and that, they've not really bothered me. But this one looked quite good. Looked like sort of Batman type game, the Arkham games, that kind of idea, but with Spider-Man. And then we get to Nintendo. Well, Nintendo, we got Rabbids again. Obviously, I talked about that a little bit when I was talking about Ubisoft. That looks like a fun game for kids and for adults alike. Not really my type of thing, but, again, I think that's a definite plus for the Switch. We got an announcement of Pokemon coming to the Switch, and again, the crowd went wild. And Metroid, though it's all very well announcing these games, but you could announce anything. When are we going to see them? It could be next year, but frankly, I doubt it. We might get Pokemon at the end of the year next year. We might get Metroid at the end of the year next year. So they are really plus points for Switch. And, I've seen some comments, people saying, I'm going to go and get a Switch now because I really want these games. I'm getting really excited about it. So, yeah, they are plus points. And there's certainly plus points for Nintendo and for the fans of Nintendo. So, yeah, that was good. Yoshi as well. We're getting that in 2018. So there could be a raft of games coming for Nintendo and the Switch next year. But the biggest one for me, and I've already mentioned this, was Rocket League and Minecraft with crossplay. I think Rocket League is a perfect game for the Switch. I think it's an excellent sort of game that you can take on the go with you. And the fact that Nintendo have bought into crossplay is phenomenal. Getting this from Nintendo? You guys know that I've been very, very critical of Nintendo in the past, and I would never have expected them to buy into this, but I think it's a fantastic move. The idea that you can be on the go and playing Rocket League on your Switch with someone who's playing it somewhere else on their Xbox, but not on their PlayStation because Sony's not bought into this. I think it's a phenomenal idea, and I think Nintendo have done exactly the right thing here, contrary to what I would have expected from them. But yeah, fair play Nintendo, you've done the right thing there. That's a great idea, and I think it's only going to help sell the Switch. And then Switch Skyrim, which we are actually going to get. Which version we're going to get, I couldn't say, but it is good to see that actually we are definitely going to be getting this game. So yeah, they were the high points, and I have to say this conference, or these conferences, didn't fill me with a huge amount of excitement this year, but they were the high points. But what about the low points? Well, first off, EA. Pretty much all of EA's conference, which frankly wasn't particularly inspiring at all, it left me cold. Given that they announced Anthem, which looked absolutely amazing, I came away from it feeling pretty flat. And then Xbox, they came out and they did their big conference, and it was longer, and they gave us exclusive. Only when you get into the small print, the exclusives weren't quite as exclusive as you think. And a lot of the games were smaller games. And so, they may have made an effort, but given that they've got a new piece of hardware out this year, I wasn't exactly blown away. Where was the Splinter Cell game we were expecting? Okay, that was rumours and we were expecting it, but it would have been nice to have seen something from that. Obviously, that's not Microsoft's fault, but that would have been good to see. Where was the new IP? The reality is that with a new console coming, they really did need a new IP, at least to announce a new IP. And I know Phil Spencer says he don't want to announce things before they're ready, but you would have thought with a new console coming, they would have had something ready. And then look at the games that have been pushed back to 2018. Sea of Thieves was supposed to be coming this year. Everybody really thought it'd probably be next year, but it would have been nice to have seen it this year. It's looking like a decent game. State of Decay, again, that's pushed back to next year. I was really looking forward to State of Decay, but looking at it, I think it definitely needs some polish graphically. And, it might be a good idea to hold it back to make it have that AAA polish. It has potential, but it just isn't there yet for me. So holding these games back, I don't know, it's a double-edged sword for me. In one way, I think it's a good idea. In another, I would have liked to have seen more this year. And to be honest, I thought the Microsoft conference was a little flat once you got past all the exclusive shenanigans. And I actually expected Sony to crucify them. Because it was okay, but it wasn't anything special. And I thought, right, Sony are going to come in and they're going to crucify them. And I was a little bit depressed about that. And then Sony came along and they didn't crucify them, did they? Sony's attitude both before, during and after the conference was utterly bizarre. Their marketing seems more interested in undermining the competition. They were going on about backwards compatibility and what a waste of time it was. And there's been all sorts of other stuff about cross-play, and they don't want to get involved in cross-play for, stupid reasons. So, they're more interested in having a go at Microsoft than they are in promoting their own hardware and content. And where were the big new announcements? The same as with Microsoft, there was nothing particularly new from Sony. I was expecting at least one new IP, but all we got was a less exciting rerun of last year. By the end of last year's conference, I was on the edge of my seat. It was entertaining and packed full of games. And this year was also packed full of games. The same bloody games. I've already had some conversations with some of my friends, and not all of them agree with me over this. But I thought there was a smugness to the presentation. It was like Sony was sitting back with their feet up and a cigar on, enjoying the view from their perch at the top of the gaming tree. Sean Lydon in particular, he seemed to want to grow his arms so he could pat himself on the back. And yeah, okay, maybe I'm being unfair to the guy. He might be a thoroughly decent bloke, but he always comes over as a little bit smug. And this made me want to not so much pat him on the back as kick him up the arse. Maybe it's because we expected too much. It wouldn't be the first time that people were disappointed because of their own unreasonable expectations. But, there was also a total disregard for things like backwards compatibility, and as I've sort of touched on, that there were lame excuses about cross-platform play. And as I say, Nintendo, of all people, are embracing that. And okay, it's not going to be for all games, but for certain games, it's going to be a great idea. And why Sony can't buy into that is beyond me. They came across as arrogant and just a little bit complacent. And like I say, not all of that came from the conference. Some of that came from stuff that happened before and after the conference. But the overarching feeling I got from it was they didn't really care, it seemed to me. Oh, look, this is what we got. Take it or leave it. We know you're going to buy it anyway because, Sony, we're the big guys. Anyway, Ubisoft and Bethesda. Bethesda last year, they were like Sony, weren't they? They had a fantastic conference last year and there was a lot of stuff to see. This year, like pretty much everybody else, was a bit lackluster. Or should I say shit? It seemed to be all DLC and VR, which, I'm cool with VR, but Fallout VR, it seems like it's only coming to PC, and I haven't got VR for PC, not yet anyway. I'm hoping I might do down the line. And Skyrim VR, do we have a date for it? We might do, but I missed it if we did. And they're going to make us pay full price for Skyrim VR, apparently. They sure know how to squeeze every last drop of cash out of a property. Oh, you'd think they were Ubisoft. There were no new games, and the rumoured new game or Fable that people were talking about for Xbox that they might be doing, and there was this speculation that Microsoft might have gone early because of the tie-in that they were going to be doing with Bethesda. Well, yeah, that turned out to be exactly that, a rumour. And okay, again, we might have been getting our expectations up, and that's our own fault. But even if you didn't expect those things, Bethesda didn't give us a great deal this year. All I can say is thank fuck for Wolfenstein, because that was bloody awesome. And as I say, I can't wait. I can't wait for that game. As for Ubisoft, well, as I say, a lot of people were saying that they had the best conference. But, well, I don't know. In many ways they did, I suppose, but then we had Let's Dance, and then there was Yves Gilmore, I think that's his name, fawning over Miyamoto like some schoolgirl meeting Justin Bieber. And I know it's Bieber. It made me want to be physically sick. In fact, I think my partner might have actually been a little sick. Yves might be a lovely bloke. I think he probably is. But that level of sycophancy, especially from the head of a company that has defined the word corporate and seems to treat gamers as a necessary evil, makes my bloody skin crawl. I just hope that Mario Rabbids is a good game, otherwise all that embarrassment was for nothing. Ugh. But other than that, I think Ubisoft were okay. They probably were maybe the best, which is surprising given it's Ubisoft. And, we all want to hate Ubisoft at the moment. But yeah, they did all right. I think they did all right. And then we end with Nintendo. And apart from Reggie talking shite, which he's got a tendency to do. Sorry, Reggie. Wow. There were no new games for their online service. And I was expecting to hear a bit more about that. It was very short, Nintendo. Short and sweet, actually, in many respects. Because they gave us quite a lot. But not a lot that was coming for us imminently. Metroid, Pokemon are... I don't know, I think you'll need a telescope to see when they're coming. Yoshi's next year, not my sort of thing really. So, it's okay, but yeah. Fire Emblem looks like shite to me. And I know a lot of people probably like it, but I thought the whole voice acting and everything didn't really do much for me. Switch Zelda DLC, I didn't really see why they put that in there. We already knew that was coming, so that was a bit pointless. And new Amiibo. I don't want them. And even if I did want them, I couldn't get them because they always sell out before they're available. So, the fanboys and the scalpers buy them all and they're all gone. So who cares, frankly. Overall, though, it was pretty lackluster, I think. I don't think anyone really stood out as being phenomenal. Maybe Ubisoft. And maybe Nintendo. I bet you didn't expect me to say that one. I thought, the fact that they mentioned Metroid and Pokemon, they really were playing to their fans. I thought for Microsoft, the hardware looked phenomenal and I can't wait to see games on it. But nobody really blew me away this year. I mean, I was more excited about Scorpio as it was then last year than I am this year. And, I am still excited for it, don't get me wrong. And I'm going to be one of those people who buy it on day one if I can get hold of one. But the conference was a bit meh, It was okay. And there were a few highlights this year, but nothing really that made me want to jump up and down. Last year, there were a couple of times where I was just laughing because of the stuff that people were making available. But this year I was a bit, I don't know, maybe I was in the wrong mood for it. I don't know. Maybe you guys have got a different take on it. And, I've been going on a bit long now, so I'm going to say that. If you guys have got a different take, come and tell me in the comments and we'll have a chat. Because I couldn't get excited this year. For me to think that Nintendo probably approached being the best is quite surprising to me because I was expecting I was expecting some surprises from Microsoft, and I was expecting some surprises from Sony, and frankly, we just didn't get them. And none of the big guys either really gave us much. But as I say, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments, otherwise I'm going to keep going on. And I'm going to go and get myself a cup of tea and, yeah, go and think about it a bit more. And I'll speak to you in the next one. Didn't get a lot from me this week, but now I've talked your ears off, so I'm gone. Bye.